Chapter 4. A Confusing Explanation. I found him in the reference section downstairs, sitting at a table and reading a book. "Hey," I said as I walked over to him. "What did you do to me?" "Shh," he said. Then he glanced up and smiled at me. "Oh, it's you. Hello. I don't believe we've been properly introduced. I'm Professor Robert Wordsworth." He held out his hand. "Logan Quester," I said, automatically as I shook hands with him. "Wonderfully appropriate," he said. That didn't make any sense, but I wasn't going to worry about it at the moment. I had more important things to learn. "What did you do to me?" I asked again. "Every time I open my mouth, a pun comes out." Except then, I realized, maybe it didn't happen around him because he was the one who had punished me. If he had to listen to all my bad puns, I guess he'd be punishing himself, too. "And you think that's my fault?" he asked. "You said I should be punished." He nodded. "Perhaps I'm partly to blame, but you have to admit you brought this on yourself. You weren't punished for no reason." "Well, make it go away," I said. "Sorry, I can't." "Why not?" "Only you can remove the punishment." He paused and tapped his finger on his chin as he stared up at the ceiling. "If I remember correctly, it takes 3 steps. It just so happens I might be able to help you with your quest." He reached in his jacket pocket and pulled out a small camera. "What's this for?" I asked. "Step 1, bring me 7 oxymorons." He handed me the camera. "Oxy what?" I asked as I took the camera. It was heavier than it looked. He reached in another pocket and pulled out a pen and a notepad. He wrote one word, tore off a sheet, and handed it to me. "Oxymoron." "I have no idea what that means," I told him. "How am I supposed to bring you something if I don't know what it is?" He ignored me and started reading his book again. I pointed the camera at him and pushed the button. Nothing happened. Then I pointed it at myself. Still nothing. "It's broke," I said. He glanced up from his book and shook his head. "You mean broken. If you have no money, you're broke. If the camera didn't work, it would be broken. It isn't. It works perfectly," he told me, "but only when you're taking the pictures you're supposed to take. Now you'd better get going if you want to make any progress. You need to get all 7 pictures within 24 hours. He pointed at the clock on the wall. The time was 5 minutes after 4. "Why?" I asked. He shrugged. "Why doesn't foot rhyme with boot? Why are there 2 ways to spell 1 and 3 ways to spell 2, but only 1 way to spell 3? I didn't make the rules, but if you take more than a day, you can forget about ending the punishment." He turned away and went back to reading his book. This was crazy. I had no idea what oxymoron meant, and it was obvious he wasn't going to tell me. I sighed and looked around at the shelves that surround us. "Of course," I said, hitting myself on the side of the head with my palm. "I can look it up." I ran off to find a dictionary. "No running," he called after me. I grabbed a dictionary and looked up the word, even though I had a feeling it wouldn't be there. It sure didn't look like a real word, but it was. Oxymoron. It meant a phrase containing contradictory terms. Great, I still didn't have a clue. On top of that, now I needed to look up another word to make sure it meant what I thought it did. I kept my place with one finger and thumbed through the dictionary to find contradictory. In my mind, I imagined going from one word to the next until I had all 10 fingers holding places like they'd been caught in some sort of awful paper trap, never finding out what anything meant. But it wasn't that bad. It turned out that an oxymoron was pretty simple, just a phrase where the 2 parts seemed to have opposite meanings. The dictionary gave some examples: pretty ugly, strangely normal, and sweet sorrow. I got it. Pretty was the opposite of ugly. So even though pretty meant something different when you said pretty ugly, it still made you think of opposites. Even oxymoron was an oxymoron. It came from a couple of Greek words that mean sharp and dull. I had to admit, the idea itself was kind of fun. It would all be really cool if my entire future weren't in danger. I tried to think of where I could get a picture of something made up of opposites. And not just one. I needed 7. Right off, I got an idea. I left the library and went down the road to the supermarket. It sold fish, all kinds of fish. It even had a tank with lobsters. And if I was lucky, it might have something else. Most places that sell fish sell shrimp, too. And shrimp also means small. I went through the door and followed my nose to the seafood section. They should call it the smell fish section, I thought. Sure enough, there in the case on ice were these really huge shrimp. And I saw the sign I'd remembered from last week when I went to the market with Mom and Dad. Jumbo shrimp. Shrimp means small, and jumbo means big. That absolutely had to be an oxymoron. I pointed the camera at the shrimp, held my breath, and pressed the button. If nothing happened, I'd be in big trouble. Click. Big sigh. 1 down, 6 to go.